So for this assignment, I was focusing on the Whitney Museum's financial statements for 2012, ending in June 30th. So first I started by reading the report of the independent auditors, which provides an introduction to the financial statements. The auditor's report avoids making any judgment calls on the state of the museum's finances, but rather simply states that the financial statements accurately present the museum's financial situation. Then I went on to look at the assets and liabilities of the museum, and as you can see in this chart, the total assets were up from 2011 to 2012, a 26% increase from $448,245,000 to $602,967,000. Total liabilities in 2012 were also up, however, 90% from 2011. This large increase was mainly due to a bond from the Trust for Cultural Resources of the City of New York for construction of a new museum. So that's mainly where that's coming from. After that, I went on to look at revenues and expenditures, and the surplus for both 2011 and 2012 is quite large, with revenues far surpassing expenditures. While the surplus was down from 35% in 2012 from 2011 in accordance with the drop in revenue, it is still exorbitantly high, with the total surplus in 2012 being only $4,247,000 shy of the total amount of expenditures listed for that year. However, the expenditures remained roughly the same between the 2 years, as you can see in the chart. In terms of the revenue streams for the Whitney, the largest chunk comes from grants and contributions at 68%. So this includes monies given by individuals, corporations, foundations, to state and municipal government bodies. And of that 68%, individual giving represents the largest portion of contributions received. The only information I found that was not included in the revenue streams was the museum's physical and online gallery store. Couldn't find that information anywhere, so this definitely needs to be added to the financial statements. In regards to expenses, I found it kind of difficult to summarize the staffing costs in comparison to program expenses, as they were categorized quite poorly. Nevertheless, I estimated that the total staffing costs were approximately $21,075,000, with programming expenses accounting for the remaining $9,920,000. Using this estimate, the ratio of salaries to total expenditures appears healthy at 68%. The main priorities of the museum are curation and exhibitions, ringing in at total 60% of the total expenses. Education programs, on the other hand, are a much smaller priority for the museum, accounting for only 9% of costs for 2012. Lastly, some recommendations I have for the Whitney is to improve the information included on their staffing information on the statement of activities. So staffing information is included in multiple places. Curatorial and related support services is listed under programming, while everything else falls under supporting services. No information on marketing is provided, and the staffing section provided is only broken down into two categories: management in general and fundraising. Education programs and library could also account for some staffing costs. However, no information on how much is attributed to staff versus programs is included. So a better breakdown of categories to account for staffing versus programming costs is necessary, and further information regarding marketing and administration should be provided rather than lumped under one category. Another area for improvement could be the increased diversification of funds. On page 9, in note 1, it's stated that only 2 donors represent approximately 36% of total contributions and grants and bequests for the year ending June 30th, 2012. So 24% of total revenue received, accounting for $14,100,000 worth of funds, would be lost if anything were to happen to those 2 donors. So that's a big problem. So gaining a wider variety of donors and or diversifying types of funding beyond contributions and grants is therefore highly recommended. And despite these issues, however, 4 and potentially 5, given that the marketing budget is unknown, out of 6 indicators of organizational health are for the most part in order. So on the whole, I would give the Whitney Museum a rating out of 4 to 5 for financial health.